Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's session. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of cyber actors exploiting increased use of virtual environments by government agencies, the private sector, private organizations, and individuals. Computer systems and virtual environments provide essential communication services for telework and education, in addition to conducting regular business. Cyber actors exploit vulnerabilities in these systems to steal sensitive information, target individuals and businesses performing financial transactions, and engaging in extortion. Since March 30th, 2020, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3, has received and reviewed tens of thousands of complaints related to the COVID-19 scams. Cyber actors have engaged in phishing campaigns against first responders, launched DDoS attacks against government agencies, deployed ransomware at medical facilities, and created fake COVID-19 websites that quietly download malware to victim devices. Based on recent trends, the FBI assesses these same groups will target businesses and individuals working from home via telework software vulnerabilities, education technology platforms, and new business email compromise schemes. Hackers and malicious users frequently take advantage of crisis and disasters. The general idea is that people are more keenly sensitive to dramatic fluctuations in societal structural norms. The current COVID-19 crisis is consistent with this historical trend. Again, thank you and welcome to today's session. Really excited about it. Myself, Jamon Whitehead from Paladin Group. We also have Keron King from MVB Bank. Welcome, Keron.
Thank you, Jamon. So hello, everyone. My name is Keron. As Jamon mentioned, I'm a relationship banker with MVB. In my field of business, we see fraud in all different aspects. So I'm really excited to be here with Jamon to provide this information to you to help you avoid being defrauded. So in today's video, we'll be looking at 4 common remote work scams: software from untrusted sources, communication tools, remote desktop access, and lastly, hardware and supply chain. We'll also provide a few tips that will help you to avoid being victimized, and Jamon will go ahead and provide details on each one for you.
Perfect, thanks, Keron. And I did also want to mention before we do get started here, I want to thank MVB Bank, member FDIC, our sponsor in today's session. Thanks, MVB. All right. Now, as Keron mentions, we'll be discussing 4 primary scams here today. First one here, we'll touch on working with software from untrusted sources and some of the concerns associated. So now, as many of you may well know at this point, after working with some of these software solutions over the last many months, malicious cyber actors may actually use legitimate-looking telework software, which may be offered for free or at a reduced price. Of course, some of these softwares might be a little pricey, and folks out there might be looking to kind of save some coin, going with some reduced price sources. However, these malicious users are really looking to gain access to sensitive data or eavesdrop on conversations. These actors may also use phishing links or malicious mobile applications that appear to come from these legitimate telework software vendors that we all may well know at this point. Some of these vendors might be household names, again, after several months of use. These attacks can come from a number of attack points or vectors, so users should definitely remain vigilant and always be on the lookout for some of these when using some untrusted or potentially untrusted sources. Now, the next scam we'll touch on here today is related to general communication tools. Again, similar actors, malicious users may be targeting these communication tools, such as, voice over IP phones, video conferencing equipment, cloud-based communication systems, and the like. The idea here is, in many cases, is to overload these services, take them offline, or eavesdrop on conference calls, similar to the previous scam. These actors are also using video teleconferencing, hijacking type approaches to disrupt conferences by inserting, certain images that might be inappropriate, hate images, or be using threatening language. Some may be familiar with the term Zoom bombing at this point, which really only scratches the surface as it relates to the negative impacts. So next, let's talk a little bit about remote desktop access. So as many of you know, at this point, some telework software services allow for remote desktop sharing or desktop access. This is definitely beneficial for collaboration, presentations, etc. However, some of these similar actors, historically have compromised remote desktop applications and can use these compromised systems to move into other shared applications. This scenario can get really scary as it can allow for access to secure and sensitive environments. In many cases, the access takes place unbeknownst to the physical user of the hardware, allowing the malicious user to access for an extended period of time in some cases. Now, lastly, let's touch a little bit on hardware and supply chain. This may not be quite as obvious or intuitive as the previous three, but certainly cause for some concern. As organizations seek to obtain equipment such as laptops to enable telework, some of these organizations have turned to laptop rental services from foreign or unknown sources. Previously used and properly sanitized equipment potentially carries pre-installed malware. We definitely saw this quite a bit, in the last spring and kind of the early phases of some of the lockdowns, as folks were going remote at a rapid rate, and organizations were trying to keep up with the hardware needs. This scam can apply, to several of the, can apply and be combined with several of the attacks previously mentioned. Definitely be very aware of the sources of hardware and ensure that machines are brand new or completely sanitized when relevant and whenever possible. So with that, Keron, do you want to share some of the do's and don'ts with us related to these scams?
Sure. So let's go ahead and look at a few remote working tips, do's. So the first thing we want to do is ensure that we are using trusted and reputable telework software vendors. That means conducting additional due diligence when selecting foreign sourced vendors. So do your research. Additionally, it's always best to download software directly from the original source if possible. Also be careful not to click on any links that will redirect you to any unwanted websites. The second do is restrict access to remote meetings, conference calls, or virtual classrooms, including the use of passwords if possible. We also want to beware of social engineering tactics aimed at revealing sensitive information. It's best to use tools that block suspected phishing emails, and you want to make sure that users can actually report and quarantine them once received. Okay, so another do is being aware of advertisements or emails purporting to be from telework software vendors. And the last do is making sure that we are always verifying the web address of websites or manually typing it in the browser in order to check its legitimacy.
Yeah, I actually wanted to chime in here, Keron. This last one here is definitely a great tip. Users might be familiar with email phishing campaigns where they might receive an email from some e-commerce retailer that they're familiar with, or requesting that they re-log in using their login credentials. Where what they're really doing is they're providing those login credentials to this malicious user.
Right.
I seem to receive these on a daily basis, and definitely the URL is key there. For example, if the email supposedly comes from Amazon.com and the sender email address is some just random combination of alphanumeric characters, it's definitely a great tip. So I definitely want to call that out. I literally received an email like that just today. So good tip.
Yeah, I get it all the time, and we just have to really be careful. And as we mentioned in the previous video, we just have to make sure that we're looking for any misspellings or anything that just seems to alert, like you need to do this now. So just really be careful and do your research. That's the best tip I can actually give.
Absolutely, great tip. So you want to walk us through the couple of don'ts we've got here?
Oh yeah, sure. All right, so let's look at a few don'ts. So never share links to remote meetings, conference calls, or virtual classrooms on open websites or open social media profiles. And the last one is never open attachments or click links within emails from senders you do not recognize. And lastly, keep yourself and your technology safe while working remotely.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Karan. Great tips. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks everyone for attending today. Thank you, Karan, for
Thank you,
jumping in.
Jamon.
Absolutely. And again, we want to thank we want to thank MVB Bank, sponsor of this session, certainly trusted partners on the financial frontier, committed to your success, MVB Bank, FDIC. And then lastly, if you do have any questions, comments, concerns related to this session or any others, any other feedback or discussion topics you'd like us to cover in future sessions, feel free to reach out directly to myself at info@paladinfraud.com. And thanks again for everyone who attended.
All right. Thank you. Bye.